So my name is Chris Cobain. I work for Tees Music Alliance. We are a non-for-profit music organisation based in Stockton-on-Tees. We run the Georgian Theatre, the Green Room, which are both music venues, and we have recording studio and rehearsal rooms, which is Green Dragon Studios.
God, very quick synopsis. I always forget how much the Tees Music Alliance do.
That's a brief synopsis. Obviously, I could go into more if you wanted to.
I used to do loads. When did you first get involved with your role then? How did you decide that you wanted to do what you do?
I suppose it's very odd, I think, asking people in the music industry, because none of them ever seem to actually start out doing want to do what they do. You know, they always kind of fall into it. So mine was, I was at Teesside University doing a media production course, and for one of them, the projects, we had to do a radio show. I chose to do it on local labels and like local artists releasing at the time. You know, so you're talking, this was what, 15 to 17 years ago. So this was when from Teesside with Love, which was a record label that Tees Music Alliance ran. I went to talk to them for like my project. Talk to them about From Teesside with Love, and then just about the venue and stuff. And then they asked me if I wanted to do some volunteering work. So when I finished uni, I had a part-time job and I did some volunteering work with Tees Music Alliance. Then they offered me some work just in rehearsal rooms, just looking after them. Then I moved on from rehearsal rooms, doing stuff like postering. Then I moved on from doing postering to kind of helping out on the bar. And then just one thing led to another. As people were kind of leaving, I would kind of get interested in what they were doing. And I started helping out by booking a couple of artists. And then I kind of took over the venue, like the bar side of it, whilst doing a couple of bits of booking the artists. And then I took over like the whole thing of booking the venue, looking after the bar, you know, looking after promoters as well, and all that kind of stuff.
Is it like, is your job title essentially like changed throughout the years? Like, you know, like,
or is
it changed like in here, you know, like
it's changed in everything, you know. I think I've done all the jobs that physically could, from accounts, you know. I've done the accounts for a while when someone was off, the volunteering project, I ran that for a while. Like I say, marketing, I've done that. But I think with regards to my role, it was just something, you know, kind of, it wasn't something I set out to do, but it's something that I found along from doing it, that I actually enjoy it and I like doing it. And, you know, touch wood, from having done it for maybe 8 years now, I think I might be all right at it.
yeah, I'd say class.
So yeah, like my you know, the name of my role now is like programming and production manager. But you should probably add in venue manager. You should probably add in DIY person. You know, you can add in seller person, and many other kind of little
venue manager and seller person.
Yeah, that's it. You know, as part of my role, I clean the lines in the bar. You know, I do the bar stock ordering, so it's not all glitz and glam of booking artists and just sitting in an office listening to Spotify all day. It's getting dirty as well.
That's how you used to do it. I don't know how to do it. Oh God. When it comes to promoting, then it's a weird question to ask, because I usually ask musicians this, but I kind of like the aspect of it for promoters. But do you have any like influences, inspirations when it comes to promoting gigs and venue managing?
No, I think when I first started, I just basically, I wanted to put bands on that I liked, and it was my personal taste. And I kind of found out quickly that you can't always do that if you want to run a business, or if you want to run a profitable business. Sorry, you know. And I think there's different kinds of promoters. You know, obviously, I look after the venue, and you know, when I book artists and promote artists, I've got to think about the business side of it. there are freelance promoters who do it just for the joy of it, and they have a full-time job which pays for the pleasure of putting on bands and watching them, and that's great, you know. And they do it as a kind of a side project. Whereas for me, I learned over the years that, you know, like I say, my taste in music isn't the same as everyone else's. So sometimes I have to put on artists that aren't really my bag. You know, I wouldn't listen to generally, but will make some money for the venue, and you know, and make a lot of other people happy that aren't me. I suppose.
That's the one, Chris.
Yeah.
You want to grow your promoter wings? That's the thing to say, isn't it?
Like personally,
Make the venue a lot of money, and
yeah, personally, my role as a promoter, you know, I can't do it as a selfish person, because it's a venue, and you know that's, you know, we're a community kind of venue. Whereas you do get, like I say, a lot of promoters who will just book artists that they like or they want to watch or they want to put on, and not think about everyone else.
Yeah, and so as that works, sometimes it doesn't, does it? Like vice versa, it's all a lottery,
Yeah.
isn't it? I absolutely hate the industry for the lottery aspect, but that's why we work doing what we do, I guess. Why do you think the creative arts are important? It's quite like a big question. You can talk about it personally, or you can talk about it, I guess, more generally, more like sort of like every person.
Well, I think obviously during lockdown, you have noticed it, you know, without, you know, wanting to sound, I don't know, a bit down on our industry. I think when we first went into lockdown, I kind of thought, oh, no one will be bothered, you know, no one will be kicking up a stink that there's no live music, you know, they'll just crack on. But then you see the outpouring from people, and you know, the people who are missing it and do depend on it. And it's not just the music, it's the social aspect of it, you know, it's the going out, it's the meeting people, not even people that know, they're just like-minded people that they see every now and again. And then actually, you know, watching a band, it's kind of like, you get a kick from it, don't you? You know, everyone likes to be that person who saw a band before they made it, you know, and it just makes people happy. Endorphins. It gives them a lot of good happy endorphins when they watch live music. So I was really, you know, I think, overwhelmed when I saw like the outpouring of love for the fact that live music had just been kicked in the teeth by COVID-19, you know, and a lot of venues as well. When you've seen a lot of venues putting out fundraisers and stuff, and how people have actually donated and been kind in that way, when you know they've got to worry about themselves and their own livelihood. Um, so I think,
On that community aspect, doesn't it, to every venue, that like it's still people focused.
yeah, and I think you can see the difference, you know, in a place like us between the O2 Academy. You know, I'm sure people have got a lot of happy memories in the O2 Academy, but they don't see it as their own. You know, whereas a lot of the people who come to the theatre, they've got an attachment with it. They've either just the memories that they've got from the building, or from the people who work there and they meet there, the staff. You know, obviously I've been there over 10 years now, so I know a lot of the regular faces, and if I pass them in the street, I'll talk to them. Yeah, like you. Whereas, again, not picking on the O2s, but if you pass the staff in the street from the O2s, you know, wouldn't recognise you, kind of thing. So I think venues like the Georgian Theatre and, you know, Hugh Bar, Westgarth, the smaller places, they do have that community feel.
I think there's an aspect for me about like sort of like the faces aspect, and I think it's like just in bigger venues. I'm not like specifically O2s, but like there's just so many people there. It's hard to see faces. Like it's like, you know, if you've ever been, you will have on the side of the stage and stuff when you're programming and that, and you look out on 300 people, you will recognize and see faces. Where if you look out on 1,000 people, it's pretty numbing. Like just you don't really see, like you just see a collective, you see like a force, and obviously that there's incredible as well. But it's also like I'm actually like when I'm on like a stage, obviously if it's a gig I'm promoting and there's no one there, then like I'm kind of like a bit like, oh, that is super nervous, because you know you've not just got other people kind of going like, you know, you've got your 3 people there that you can see in the audience, but then you've got your boss standing next to them going. But it's like it's very intimate though, isn't it? And I think that's why like that exchange creates the social side of it.
Yeah, you know, I think Unashamedly small venue. I couldn't tell you the last time I went to a big gig, arena gig, kind of, to be honest, anything over 600 people. You know, purely because I don't, I'm not a fan of the big show. You know, I like the small venue. I like it being small, tight, intimate. You know, being around people. You know, bouncing off each other, um, seeing the smiles on people's faces, seeing how they react to a band as well. You know, and seeing how the band react being so close to them. And I work festivals and stuff, and you know, like you say, when you stood on a stage and you're looking out at a festival crowd and they're having the time of their lives, that's fantastic. That's what they're into. You know, personally for me, uh, a small dark room is where you get the best experience.
Smelly venues. Carlin
It doesn't
farts
have to
for
be
an hour.
smelly, it doesn't have to be smelly or sticky, or you know, sweaty walls. Although that's the kind of venues that I grew up in, like the corner house. You know, you don't have to
Yeah.
smell like be like that. But
It's like me setting up a venue going, it doesn't smell like a venue. Has anyone got the fart spray?
yeah, yeah, the floor looks all right, but could you tip a load of paints over it, leave it a few days so it goes sticky?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Get the
Yeah.
crowd in, get them in. How has lockdown affected your work and your future plans? Obviously, venues closed, but what's work like?
Yeah. Well, obviously we closed in March. Um, Rescheduled the March shows to some of them to the summer, um, and they quickly got rescheduled to Christmas, and then they've been rescheduled again to Easter time this year. So all of the program that we had in and we've been marketing for months beforehand has all either gone or is being pushed into the back end of 2021. Um, so there's a lot of effort that's gone in on people's parts there, just gone to waste. Obviously, there's the financial side of it. We've had no incoming money from gigs since March. The stock side of it, we've lost a load of stock that's gone out of date because we were fully stocked for a weekend's worth of activities. I think we had 3 gigs planned that weekend before we got closed down, so all that stock's gone out of date. We've lost the money on that. All our staff, the kind of the bar staff, they've had no work. Luckily they've been getting furlough, but it's not a massive amount. So yeah, we've just lost. Well, at the moment we've lost a year, but I think for the industry and for venues, it could be 2 years or so until we actually see the lasting effects of it. Because although we might be able to open in say June or July, that doesn't mean the customers are going to come back and feel comfortable to come back. Um, so we might have lost 30% of our audience for all we know. But like I say, I don't think we'll know the true effects of all this for a couple of years yet.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think like the thing I know like best with working with people like yourselves and whatnot as promoters and creatives and stuff, it's like how like adaptable we are though, like to these things and whatnot. So I think like we're already like we don't know what we're ready for, but we're already like it's unpredictable, but like it's weird to think about it and go, I don't really know, but I guess whatever it is will be fine. The building's there, like people will come into it eventually, and music will happen. So it's weird. It's such a weird thing because it's I've talked to a lot of musicians and stuff as well, and they've got like it's like quite yin and yang and stuff, about 50-50 on like the positives and negatives. Obviously, whereas in our sector and that, it is like it's a big chunk of it's negative. Like the only positivity is it'll be back at some point. Like
Yeah,
until then, we're just moving stuff around.
frustrating as well, because when we reopened in August, we had some shows booked in and we stuck to the current guidelines that were out then. So, it was kind of bubbles and whatnot. We had those gigs on sale and then they sold out with 50 people, 60 people. Then 2 weeks later, another set of guidelines come out, which meant we had to completely change how we'd set up and sold the event.